Let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly, even if it's just in your head. Have you ever had that feeling? That sinking, quiet, middle of the night feeling where you're lying next to someone you love, but something feels off? You can't prove it. You don't have evidence, but your chest knows. Your gut knows. Your body is already processing a truth your mind is desperately trying to avoid. If you felt that, you're not crazy, and you're not insecure. Research into infidelity, real clinical research, not internet rumors, reveals something most people never want to hear. Here it is. Cheating does not begin with a physical act. It never has. It begins with a decision. A quiet, internal, often unspoken moment, sometimes weeks or months before anything physical happens, where something in a woman's mind shifts. And that shift isn't dramatic. It's subtle. It's a whisper, not a scream. But here's what destroys men the most. By the time that internal decision is made, the signs have already been visible for a long time. You've already felt them. Don't miss the insights that could transform your life. If you found this valuable, hit the like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more powerful content. Turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Your journey to growth, wisdom, and success starts today. Take action now. Sensed the distance. Noticed the small changes. Your heart registered them long before your mind was willing to accept what they meant. This isn't a video about blame. I'm not here to turn anyone into a villain. This is about something far more important and far more rarely discussed. What actually happens inside a woman's mind in the weeks and months before she crosses a line. Because when you understand the psychology of how that decision forms, the 4 signs she leaves behind stop feeling like random, confusing behavior. They start making complete, painful, undeniable sense. And once you see it that way, you can never unsee it. Let's begin. Sign 1. The emotional withdrawal, where it actually begins. Before anything else happens, before the secrecy, before the late nights, before the criticism, before the shifting priorities, something happens inside her that is almost entirely invisible to the outside world. She starts to disconnect. Not dramatically, not consciously even. Most women don't wake up one morning and decide to cheat. That's not how female psychology works. Instead, something in her emotional world begins quietly creating distance from the relationship. Maybe it starts as dissatisfaction she can't quite name, a vague restlessness, a feeling of, is this it? Maybe it starts as an innocent friendship with someone else that slowly begins to feel different, more exciting, less heavy. Maybe it starts as a growing sense that something in her life is missing, and that this relationship, no matter how good it once was, isn't going to fill that hole. Here's what's crucial to understand about this stage. She has not yet decided to cheat. She hasn't crossed any physical or even emotional line yet. She is living in a gray space, still in the relationship, still caring about you on some level, but quietly beginning to invest emotional energy in a direction that isn't you. And this is where the first sign appears in her behavior. When a person begins this kind of internal withdrawal, their emotional output toward the existing relationship quietly decreases. The warmth becomes slightly less natural. The curiosity about your day becomes slightly less genuine. The laughter becomes slightly more performed. Not because she has made a decision to hurt you, but because her emotional energy is beginning to split, and the part that flows toward you is getting smaller. Let me pause here, because this is the stage that breaks men the most in hindsight. Think back. Can you remember a specific week, maybe 3 or 4 months ago, when something felt different? When the conversation felt shorter? When the effortless connection suddenly required effort? Most men can. And they remember dismissing it, explaining it away as stress, as tiredness, as a phase. They chose the comfortable story over the honest one. That's not weakness. That's hope. But hope without honesty is just delayed pain. The withdrawal isn't random. It's the first chapter of a story that's already being written inside her mind, whether she fully realizes it yet or not. Sign 2. The moment she starts protecting something new. Now something has changed. Something new has entered her emotional world. Maybe it's a specific person. Maybe it's an emotional connection that started as friendship and has quietly become charged with more meaning. Maybe it's an online exchange that began innocently and has slowly started feeling like the kind of validation your relationship stopped providing. Whatever it is, she knows on some level that it cannot exist in the same space as you. And so her mind does what every human mind does when it's holding something it wants to protect. It builds walls. This is the psychology behind the second sign. The sudden privacy. The phone face down, the vague answers when you ask who she's texting, the subtle defensiveness when you ask a simple question like, "How was your day?" The way she angles her screen away from you without even realizing she's doing it. What's happening inside her at this stage is more complicated than simple deception. She is managing two emotional worlds simultaneously, and the effort of keeping them separate is already affecting how she shows up in the relationship. She is not fully present with you anymore because a meaningful part of her attention is now living somewhere else. But here's what most men never realize, and I want you to really hear this. This stage is actually filled with conflict for her too. The brain does not hold two opposing emotional investments without friction. There is guilt. There is confusion. There is a part of her that still knows exactly what she has with you. The history, the realness, the weight of something built over time. And there is another part that is drawn toward whatever feels new and exciting and unencumbered by that weight. She is not a monster in this moment. She is a human being caught between two emotional worlds, making a series of small choices that are quietly adding up to something much larger. And the walls she's building, the secrecy, the guardedness, the new privacy, those aren't just about hiding something from you. They're about protecting a version of herself that she isn't ready to confront yet. But here's the question you need to ask yourself. How long are you willing to stand outside those walls? Sign R3. The psychological case she builds against you. This is the part that is the hardest to understand and the most important, because at some point, the internal conflict becomes too heavy to carry. The guilt of investing emotionally in someone else while still being in a committed relationship creates a tension in the mind that is genuinely unbearable to hold over time. And the mind, being the extraordinary self-protective machine that it is, finds a way to resolve that tension. It builds a case. It starts scanning the relationship for evidence that things weren't working anyway. It magnifies small frustrations into significant problems. It replays moments where you fell short, where communication broke down, where she felt unseen or unheard. It takes the normal human imperfections of a real relationship and reframes them as proof that something was fundamentally broken. This is what psychologists call cognitive dissonance, the mind's process of resolving two conflicting realities by making one of them feel less valid. And for you, living inside this process from the outside, it shows up as the third sign: sudden, sharp, relentless criticism. Things that never bothered her before become ongoing complaints. The way you load the dishwasher, how you listen, your ambition or lack of it, your friends, your family, your silence, your talking. Nothing is safe. Comments start to feel like a verdict rather than feedback. There's a sense that no matter what you do, it's never quite right. Here's what I need you to understand about this sign. And I want you to really sit with this, she is not criticizing you because you have failed. She is criticizing you because her mind needs you to have failed. Because if the relationship is broken, then what she's doing elsewhere feels less like betrayal and more like a response to something that was already lost. The criticism is not a reflection of your worth. It is a reflection of how badly she needs a justification for a decision her heart has already quietly made. And the man who understands this, who can see the criticism for the psychological mechanism it actually is, rather than the personal verdict it pretends to be, that man does not crumble. He does not shrink. He does not spend months trying to fix himself for a version of her approval that was never really about him. He sees it clearly, and that clarity, as painful as it is the beginning of his protection. Sign 4. The moment you become secondary to your own relationship. By this stage, something has fundamentally shifted inside her. The decision, the one that began as a gray area, that grew through emotional investment, that was justified through the case her mind built against the relationship, has now taken on a weight and momentum of its own. She has not necessarily acted on it physically yet, but emotionally she has already crossed a line. Her primary emotional investment is no longer in you, it is somewhere else, and you feel it in the most specific, undeniable way. You become secondary. Not through a single dramatic moment, but through the accumulation of 100 small ones, the plans that keep falling through, the distracted silences when you're together, the responses that feel automatic rather than genuine, the sense that you are sharing space with someone who is mentally, emotionally, spiritually somewhere else entirely. The relationship that used to feel like the center of her world now feels like an obligation she's managing alongside the life she actually wants to be living. And the anxiety this creates in a man, that quiet, nameless dread of feeling yourself becoming an afterthought in something you've given everything to, that anxiety is one of the most isolating feelings a human being can experience, because you can't point to it. You can't name it in a single sentence. You just know. In the way that you know things before you're ready to say them out loud, in the way that your gut has been trying to tell you something your heart hasn't wanted to hear. And here is the truth I want to leave you with about this final sign. The moment you become secondary in your own relationship is not the moment to try harder. It is not the moment to give more, plan more, love more loudly. It is the moment to get honest with yourself about what you're actually seeing, about what the pattern of the last weeks or months has been quietly telling you. Because the love you're capable of giving, real, loyal, full-hearted love, deserves to go somewhere that is genuinely receiving it, not somewhere that is managing it, not somewhere that is tolerating it while investing its real emotional energy elsewhere. You deserve to be someone's first choice, fully, without competition, without doubt. Closing. What understanding these signs actually gives you. Understanding how the decision to cheat actually forms inside someone's mind doesn't make the pain of these signs any smaller. I won't lie to you. It still hurts. It still keeps you up at night. It still makes you question everything you thought was real. But it changes something fundamental about how you carry that pain. When you understand that the emotional withdrawal was the beginning of a process, not a random change in mood, you stop blaming yourself for not noticing sooner. When you understand that the secrecy was about protecting a new emotional world, not just hiding a specific act, you stop obsessing over finding proof. When you understand that the criticism was a psychological justification, not an honest verdict on your character, you stop trying to earn an approval that was never yours to lose. When you understand that the shifting priorities were the final evidence of where her emotional investment had already gone, you stop pouring yourself into a space that has already quietly moved on. And when you stop making yourself the problem, something extraordinary happens. You stop shrinking. You stop chasing. You stop begging for crumbs of attention from someone who has already given the whole loaf to someone else. You start standing, fully, clearly, without apology, in the truth of your own worth. The 4 signs she leaves are not random. They are the footprints of a decision being made inside a mind that hasn't found the courage to be honest yet. And you, the man who is perceptive enough to notice them, brave enough to stop explaining them away, strong enough to face what they actually mean, you are not the one who lost something. You are the one who found something far more important: yourself. And from that place, not from desperation, not from fear, not from loneliness, but from genuine self-respect, everything else can be rebuilt on ground that is real, on ground that is yours.